It's one of my recent raid builds that I'm using for mostly clearing ads. It's based on 3-piece Providence, which gives headshot damage, 10% critical hit chance and 15% critical hit damage. It's fully focused on around weapon damage, and it has red stats everywhere. 3-piece Providence, 1-piece Petrov, it's named item called Contractor Gloves. It has a signature attribute which always gives 11% damage to armor. The other part is called Fox Sprayers. It's from Overlord. It gives 15% damage to targets out of cover. And for the other part I'm using Ceska holster. It's to maxed out critical hits. The cap is 60%, and if you're going for a crit build, crit chance needs to be close to 60%, either maxed out on 60%. Then the other damage you stack on weapon damage or crit damage, and also crit damage or crit chance in mods. Whole gear has 3 mod slots on mask, vest and a backpack, where you can put extra crit chance and crit damage. For main talents I'm using at the moment Obliterate, that gives you critical hit, increase total weapon damage by 1% for 5 seconds, stack up to 15 times. For backpack I'm using at the moment Perfect Vigilance, but it's not really needed. It's also a backpack called the Gift. It's also a named item. It drops only in Dark Zone, but you can run also here normal Vigilance that has still 25% damage bonus, but once you get hit it is disabled for 4 seconds. As a replacement you can eventually use Providence Vest with either Glass Cannon or Perfect Glass Cannon. The perfect one is unnamed item called the Sacrifice. It's Providence Vest and it doesn't drop in Dark Zone, it drops only outside Dark Zone. That's my best one. Of course it's a weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage. That's the attributes you want to go for. If you have some worse part, let's say, then be sure that to roll stuff and to change the attributes that will put you in maximum crit chance and then crit damage. The other option might be eventually Unbreakable if you feel like not really safe, like you're dying a lot for some reason. You might use Unbreakable. It will give you 100%, almost 100% armor back, so it might let you survive more. Also my rolls are like weapon damage, crit chance, headshot damage. Of course I would prefer here to have crit chance or higher weapon damage. As it is about backpack, as I said before, Vigilance. The other options might be talent called Composure. It gives you 15% more weapon damage while staying in cover. The attributes same like for the other parts: weapon damage, crit chance, headshots, everything that can boost you up with crit chance and crit damage pretty much. For the guns, pretty much what you like. I'm running it at the moment with assault rifle. It can be also a rifle. The best one at the moment are either classic M1A or MK17. The best, if you have like crit chance maxed out, then I would suggest to use a rifle, to look for a rifle with strain on it. If you don't stop shooting, you'll gain like 50% extra critical hit damage for stacks up to 5 times. It doesn't have time limit. The bonus is lost if you stop shooting, so pretty much just spam bullets. There's 40 in magazine, and after like I don't know 10-15 you'll gain the extra 50% critical hit damage. For classic M1 I'm the same. I would prefer the one with strength. Ranger is also pretty good. It amplifies weapon damage by 2% for every 5 meters. There's a named version of the classic M1A called Baker's Dozen. It's also not bad, but the talent doesn't give anything to weapon damage. It only have a chance to return bullet to magazine when you miss shots from cover. As the other gun I'm using at the moment Bullet King, but it might be any other LMG like Ivy Navek, or it might be infantry LMG MG5. Mm, Also be sure to spec points here in your Shadek watch for weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage. You can get up to 10% extra crit chance from such as Shadek leveling, up to 20% crit damage, and up to 10% weapon damage. Be sure also to spec your points in specialization table in White House near Quartermaster in the next room. So you'll get extra 15% weapon damage based on your gun type. Be sure to check it out if it's not something else than, for example, assault rifle or LMG. Depends what are you using. Another build for Razorback. Some parts that change it. It's at my case only mask and a vest and gloves. It's still 3-piece Providence for crit chance, crit damage, pretty much. The reason I'm not using Contractor gloves is cause damage to armor doesn't apply to Razorback, because weak points are pretty much health. So the thing you want instead, the best would be go for Holowman mask, which drops only in Dark Zone, and it has attribute 21% damage to health. It really helps on Razorback. And still the same rule, like weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage pretty much. This is a mask that's core attribute is always blue, it's armor, so uh, you want to change armor to weapon damage, and if you'll be lucky, I believe you might get one with crit chance here or crit damage. I got a roll with headshot damage, so I believe there is a one with crit chance or crit damage on it. But most of rolls you might find like blue damage plus red damage to health, and then it will be red or yellow. Still, it should be good because it has this extra damage to health on it. For a vest I'm using Perfect Glass Cannon for amplified 30% damage, weapon damage, crit chance still. For a backpack Perfect Vigilance, it might be still a normal Vigilance. Uh, Providence Gloves, weapon damage, crit damage. Overlord Kneepads still stays, damage to out of cover should apply to Razorback as well. And still Ceska Holster for crit chance. Here are stats of this build. For Bullet King I'm at 52% crit chance. It's cause Bullet King has only one mod for critical hit chance, it's a muzzle. If you use any other guns, you might put there 2 or up to 3 mods for crit chance, so you might just max out your crit chance just by changing mods on your guns. By pressing hold G, I'm switching my gun. So critical hit chance on my MK17 is at the moment maxed out. Critical hit damage is 154.5. It's pretty high. And then I got also this extra 21% health damage. It's pretty much when you open Razorback or when you're about to damage weak points, you do it with MK17 or with Strength, or M1A with Strength, Ranger, or any good damage talent. As it is about skills, it's up to you, but it's good to have Revival Hive unless your teammates get down and you can help them. I'm using Chem Launcher by myself unless you have a healer in your team, because Glass Cannon can eventually kill you, because besides you dealing a lot of damage, if someone hits you, eventually crit hits you, you might get down with 1 or 2 shots. Mm, and I'm using Bullet King just because it has infinity ammo, but it might be any other gun type you prefer. It might be assault rifle, it might be LMG or rifle. Mm, Also, like, because Vigilance, it's pretty much the extra damage buff you take if you don't, you get it while you're not being hit. So you can eventually use the shield, like small shield. Let me see, like this, and then it needs to be a Crusader one, and then you just can shoot like this, and it has smaller chance to hit you because enemies will probably hit your shield, and it might keep your vigilance alive for more time. The other option for vigilance is eventually composure, just like in the previous build. You just remember to stay in cover. It's only 10% less than vigilance. Just stay in cover and you'll get this 15% extra damage all the time. Okay. And this is the support shield built for a raid or any other activity, for Dark Zone or any other missions. It's a true Patriot shield build. I'm at the moment on 1.9 million armor. It's based on 4-piece true Patriot. Uh, all all core attributes are stacked on armor, so be sure to recalibrate it like this, like full armor, or depends how good your rolls are. Uh, the heart of this build is a chest with perfect vanguard. It's a Gilagard item called Pointman. You can drop it in light zone, so it doesn't drop in dark zone, I think, but perfect vanguard, pretty much deploying a shield makes it invulnerable for 5 seconds. It's pretty much, it makes your shield like god mode for 5 seconds. It doesn't break, and grants 50% of your armor as a bonus armor to all other allies for 20 seconds. So with 1.9 million armor, whenever I deploy my shield, it gives 50% of this armor to everyone in my team. So it applies to 7 other people in the raid, for example. So whenever you see someone is in need, like he's really down on armor or health, you can just deploy your shield and give him extra armor to survive for 20 seconds. The holster I'm using for this build is Richter and Kaiser holster called Forge. It has 10% shield health as a signature attribute. I don't know what eventually you could eventually use it. Dodge City Gunslinger, I guess, for weapon damage, but then your armor will drop. It's not really like a big drop. This holster has pretty interesting talent, like while your pistol is holster, gain a stacking buff every half second up to 100. When you swap to it, your first shot consumes the buff and deals plus 10% damage per stack. So it's 10% 10% multiplied by 100. So it's like 1000 more damage. So you can just equip this and go, for example, for the highest damage pistol you have. In my case, it's Liberty, and you pretty much use your assault rifle. And you can see on the HUD below the small icon below 65 that it's increasing. So it's pretty much this pistol buff. Whenever I take my pistol, it stops filling up, and once I make a shot, the bonus buff is being consumed, and it's the hit for those stacks. It can be like, I'm not gonna test it now, but it's like super high. It might save you sometimes in some situations. So it's like the other option to run this holster. I'm using this build with firewall specialization. It unlocks the shield called Striker Ballistic Shield. It also, it's like a version of Crusader Shield, but it also gives some buffs for team, like if people stay behind you, they get extra damage buffs depending on amount of enemies being in front of the shield. You can also use your specialization weapon on this shield. So when I deploy the shield, I can use my specialization weapon on it, like you see, or my rifle, or my assault rifle, pretty much every gun besides marksman rifles and LMGs. It's a really good build to run also in raid, like one person should run it to buff whole team with extra armors and safe situations. Here you can see, like, my body was without armor. I just deployed my shield. Like, let's look at it again. I just real quick deployed the shield, and then I hided it. It gives buff to whole team. You don't need to run with the shield all the time. You just need to deploy and hide it. It works for 20 seconds. Then it goes on cooldown, but you can do it pretty often in safe situations.